Canceled, but the show goes on. The Findlay Market Opening Day Parade done. The MLB season pushed back at least 2 weeks, plus FC Cincinnati's 2020 season delayed a month. COVID-19 is canceling more events than Dolores Umbridge and Harry Potter. But we'll get through the week that was. Sports of all sorts is next.
From WCPO 9 Sports, this is Sports of All Sorts.
Good evening and welcome to Sports of All Sorts. I'm Jake Ryle. This is a chance for you folks at home to chime in on some of the biggest topics of the week. You can have your voice heard by tweeting using hashtag SOAS9. And now that you're here, you're probably wondering what in the world we're going to be talking about for the next 30 minutes. We're wondering the same thing too, don't worry. Sports offers an opportunity to get away, and for the next half hour, we're planning on doing just that. We start with Reds opening day. The parade has been pushed back, but taking a look back offers hope in the weeks to come.
It's the mid-60s. Jim O'Toole is on the mound and Pete Rose is ready to do what he did best, getting on base. The confines of Crosley Field marked by a sea of parking lots and a new Interstate 75. Baseball was back. And most years, the unofficial start to spring goes off without a hitch. The offseason always leads to opening day. But there are a few times memorable in their own right. In 1966, Ted Kluszewski chatted it up with the Mets manager before the game. They're ready to play. Mother Nature had other plans. The home opener in 66 rained out, rescheduled for April 22nd.
Now, Al Shuttlecutty's Spotlight Report.
At Riverfront, it was a memorable opening day because people don't soon forget baseball fields covered with snow, a crowd that looks like it's dressed for an alpine ski tournament.
Then there was 1977. 4 inches of snow made for a fun day for the grounds crews. It also made for a fun day for this guy. What we can't always count on are memorable moments.
Today it wasn't the best of played games, so they say.
Well, I think it was particularly the cold weather, and that's always a problem.
Some years felt like the pigs would actually fly, and other games and seasons you wish would simply fly by. For many, opening day provides hope.
You think that the Reds will go all the way?
There ain't any doubt about it. They always do. They always do it.
There's no doubt changes come.
Opening day 2003, and this is what you'll probably see, the Reds on the river. But there's plenty of questions beyond this slick animation.
And change will continue. Opening day serves as a promise. There's always hope for better and brighter days ahead.
All right, that being said, we're joined by the 13th best mid-market afternoon host himself. I'm sure you've never heard that one before, Mo Egger.
It's who did we mention at the top from Harry Potter? Dolores
Umbridge, yeah.
How many people watching this show right now, when you said that, nodded along and went, oh yeah, her?
Crickets. I had to throw it in there.
It's really
anyway.
nice to be on No Sports of All Sorts.
Yes.
Jake, this is wonderful.
The show goes on.
It does. It does.
Hey, listen, you've had quite a week. You have to fill so much time on talk show radio and everything.
Yeah.
That's a challenge, right?
Filling time. It's a challenge when there's a lot going on, much less when nothing is happening. Yeah.
You had an opportunity to write a great article on The Athletic. Walk me through kind of how that got going and what you found out.
I appreciate that. When I write, you're supposed to write what you're feeling and what you're thinking. And I sat down, and my original intention was this was maybe 2 days before everything kind of hit the fan, but you could kind of see where this was going, and people are worrying about opening day in the NCAA tournament. And look, I love those things. And I certainly understand from an opening day standpoint how many people that matters to emotionally and economically. But I'm sitting there going, in the grand scheme of things as a sports fan, I just don't care. Because this is, look, I'm not big into scaring people or making people panic. I think this is a really scary time. And people have, since I wrote it, have said, well, you're not going to get coronavirus, you're going to be okay. And it's less about that. It's more about when society stops, that's not a good thing. So that in the moment scared me, and I'm still concerned about it, but that's where I was coming from. It wasn't, we're all going to die. And I hope people didn't read it that way. To me, it was simply, look, if they have to cancel opening day, I hate that, and it stinks, but frankly, there's just bigger picture concerns that at least I have right now.
Why don't we stick on Reds, spring training? Sure. You had a chance to go out to Arizona.
Yeah, it was like a lifetime ago.
Walk me through what you saw. Were you impressed by what you saw with the Reds team?
Yeah, I take all the spring training results with
spring training.
Huge grains of salt, but I tell you what, down there, the guy that everybody talked about was Jose Garcia. The shortstop who early in spring training, hit a couple of home runs in one game. He's long, rangy, athletic, and the people that I know that follow prospects closely rave about him. And watching him play up close was a lot of fun. And then the other thing was just you're kind of taken aback by the technological influence that hovers around spring training, where there's dudes who you don't recognize all over the place. And I don't know if that's going to be good or bad, but it's certainly different. And I think it's going to be good, but it's unfortunate because there was such hope this offseason, and still should be so much hope for this offseason. But we're less than 2 weeks away from opening day. We should be building excitement for a week from Thursday, and instead we have to look back on things that happened a couple of weeks ago and wonder whenever it is that we're going to be able to apply what we saw in March to when the season actually begins.
And I was going to ask about the 9 games that are going to be postponed. And we know it's probably going to be further than that.
Yeah.
But at this point, 9, can you make them up? I mean, the season is already so conjoined anyway. You play so many games in a given week.
Yeah, the baseball in '90, when the Reds won the World Series, they scrapped the first week and tacked it on to the end of the year, but we only had a 2-tier playoff, LCS and World Series. They altered the World Series schedule a little bit. It had always started on a Saturday for years and years and years, and the Reds and A's actually started on Tuesday. Now you have a longer postseason. It goes deeper. I think you're out of your mind if you think the season's going to start 2 weeks after the day that it was supposed to. So I tend to think that whenever it does start, we're going to have a very brief, maybe 190, 80 game dash to the postseason where it just ends up being this statistical anomaly, much like 1981 when they split the season in half and the Reds, finished with the best record in the league. It's going to be something like that. I would be floored. Beyond belief if they played anything close to 162 games.
We have a little bit more than a minute in this one here. Let's talk March Madness.
Yeah.
Should they have brought out a bracket? I know from your perspective as a talk show personality, you'd love that, right?
I think to have a final record of the season, it would have been nice. I don't think we needed it, but it would have been fun. It would have been fun to talk about. We would have, let's say you're Rutgers, who hasn't been to the NCAA tournament in forever. You could say that you were on the first team to make the NCAA tournament. To me, if from a Xavier standpoint, I'd like to know yay or nay. Cincinnati, I'd like to know yay or nay. It would have been something fun for us to talk about. And so from that standpoint, I don't see the harm, but I'm not mad that they didn't do it. I think to have a record of the season, here's what happened, here's who made the tournament, here's what happened to the point that the season was basically shelved, I think it would have been nice. I think it would have been fun to do today.
30 seconds or less on this. I've got @JackReno20 on Twitter. He wants to know, would Xavier and UC have made the tournament? He says no.
The two things could be related because let's say UC loses on Friday. Does that give Xavier a chance to jump back into the NCAA tournament when Wednesday night everybody thought that loss to DePaul was going to kick him out? I am going to venture a guess and say that Xavier would not have gotten in, and I'm going to venture a guess that you're never going to be able to disprove that Cincinnati would have played in Dayton in the first 4.
Would have been fun to see UC and Xavier in Dayton too.
Would have been a blast.
Right.
Would have been. And by the way, the last time UC started the NCAA tournament in Dayton, they went to the Final Four.
There you go. There you go. Don't go anywhere. We're going to have more of this. Mo's going to be coming back. We're chatting about University of Dayton.
What was her name? Dolores who?
Humbridge, I think. She's coming back too, maybe.
Very good. Maybe.
Hey, UD, the status of the seniors who didn't have their last hurrah, that's coming up. Welcome back to Sports of All Sorts. Remember, tweet using hashtag SOAS9 to have your comments read on air. Mo Egger joining us. He's a big UD fan, of course, graduate of UD as well. Dayton had a historic run this season. Before we get into that, let's hear from their head coach, Anthony Grant.
We feel like the right decision was made. And although we feel like there was more for us to try to accomplish over the course of the season, there's nothing that can take away what these young men did out on the court throughout the entire season. History was made in a lot of different areas. Just the effort, the love that they show for each other, I think represents this university, this community in an unbelievable fashion. So
You talk about a city that really needed something positive coming their way.
Yeah.
This was it. They had a historic run this season. What were your thoughts, your takeaways on how they finished? And
all year long, there was this once-in-a-lifetime feel to it. When's the next time a possible National Player of the Year is going to show up on the UD campus? You know, when's the next time they're going to waltz through the league undefeated? When's the next time they're going to be in a position to be perhaps a #1 seed in the NCAA tournament? Those things don't happen most places. They certainly don't often happen at the University of Dayton. So from that standpoint, all season long there was this sense of joyfulness, but also if UD basketball is ever going to do something on a grand on a national scale, this is going to be it, and we're not going to get a chance to find out. It reminds me a lot of UC in 2000 when Kenyon Martin broke his leg, because all year long there was kind of the same sense. Boy, UC basketball has been good for a while, but we've got the Player of the Year, #1 pick in the NBA draft. You know, this is the year where maybe they can win a national championship, and you know, maybe Dayton wouldn't have done that, but you certainly would have loved to have seen how things would have played out.
how far do you think they could have gone?
I think they were a Final Four team. Now, you know, it's all about matchups and how you play and all that stuff. And Dayton would have had a hard time against teams that can push them around underneath the basket. They were not a great defensive rebounding team, but they were the second most efficient team in the country offensively. They were awesome in transition. They could come at you at waves, which they often did this year. And look, they played Kansas to an overtime game, the team that I think most of us feel like is the best team in the country. I think Dayton was a Final Four team, and it is heartbreaking in the sports context. It is heartbreaking that we're never going to get a chance to find out how far they could have gone.
Should athletes get a year of eligibility left? We're talking winter sports and spring sports.
Spring, I don't know how you don't, because their entire seasons are being taken away. The kids who played men's and women's college basketball, hockey, wrestling, winter sports, I don't have a problem with offering it. I tend to think the number of students who would take the schools up on it would be pretty small, that it wouldn't be that much of a disruption. To me, you know, people have said to me, well, you know, what do you do with freshmen coming in? First of all, if those freshmen coming in are good enough, they're going to play anyway. I think, though, and obviously you have seniors who wouldn't have played in the NCAA tournament. Who cares? The NCAA has a chance to do something that it never does, show a human side, and again, I think most kids are going to be willing to say, I'm ready to go on to my next phase of life, whether it's playing sports professionally or otherwise. But what is the harm in offering a one-time, no transfer? Because I don't think you want to open up the can of worms of the kids being offered a chance to come back and then transferring, but give a Trayvon Scott, if he chose an opportunity to come back, or a Javen Cumberland, or, you know, really anybody in men's or women's college basketball or any of the winter sports, a chance to come back and finish their seasons in a way that so many were denied a chance to actually finish their seasons in.
I want to show some of these pictures. They were taken by Bennett Wise up at Miami. A win against Penn State in their last game for baseball. Just an awful, awful reality for some of these seniors in their last game. It was almost like they didn't know what to do. Yeah. You know, they're just out there. They're hugging in the dugout. And you're going to see a picture coming up of basically one of the student athletes hugging their mom. And unreal reality that some of these seniors now have to face. Hopefully they'll be able, like you said, maybe to get a year of eligibility back.
You know, I mean, just imagine what it's like if you're a big league ball player, it's your job, and you're going to have a chance to come back. If you play in college baseball, it's not your job. Many of those kids are not on scholarship, and they spend, you know, endless hours preparing for a season that came and went like that. You know, there are so many things that are heartbreaking about this in sports and otherwise, but the opportunity denied for some of those men and women it's sad. I mean, all of it makes me sad. Seeing pictures like that also makes me sad.
Mo, thank you so much for your time and your thoughts. Don't go anywhere. We've got JT Smith coming on board to talk all things UC, and there was a game played at Cintas Center. We'll have what it was like coming up. To sports of all sorts, there were some games this week, like the high school tournament games on Wednesday. The atmosphere with limited spectators, certainly a bit different.
Walking inside the Cintas Center, take a look around, soak it all in. A unique moment.
I'm sure maybe the players did. It wasn't as loud, obviously, but it's basketball.
In a nearly empty arena, you can hear things a bit better. But once the student athletes were in the game,
We knew coming into this game that we'd have no crowd, so we knew that as a team we'd have to bring our own energy.
There came a moment when he had to pause.
Playing in the past, having full crowds, it was kind of odd, but just a little adjustment, no big deal really.
For Moeller, enough points to make the buckets seem like laundry baskets. These were the last high school games to be played in Ohio, with enough room in the stands to kick your feet up and relax for a little while. Another game. It certainly was a bit odd, unusual.
This is an unusual situation, but we respect the people who have to make this decision. And I certainly don't know anything about public health, and you got to trust the people that do, and then control what you can control. And we can control our enthusiasm and our approach to it.
It didn't feel like it was empty at all. Our guys on the bench had so much energy, it kind of felt like it was a full gym.
The unexpected ending to a season which started with so much hope.
Now, the Ohio High School Athletic Association has canceled the remainder of the tournament, meaning Moeller is still technically defending state champions. Onward we move to FC Cincinnati. Major League Soccer announcing the season is suspended due to COVID-19 for 30 days. The announcement came just 3 days prior to the club's home opener. All right, so we're switching gears now a little bit here. I'm joined in studio by JT Smith. He's a sports blogger for Front Office News, does a great job with the site as well. Thank you so much for risking life and limb to be here.
Thanks for having me here.
Let's go ahead and start off. It all kind of seemed to add up on Wednesday and Thursday. I mean, did it come as a surprise on campus at UC?
Kind of. I will say 50-50 because they were preparing for it. Wednesday, stuff went out, but then, they still let media be there for spring ball. And then on, was it Wednesday night or was it Thursday morning, got the email, no media, and boom, it just was a snowball from there.
Did it seem like the coaches, the players, did they feel like they were making the right move with all of this?
I feel like they feel like it was the right move for sure. They were kind of sad because, they were only 3 practices in, and they still had 12 more practices. No spring ball game, and then also, if you think about it for the basketball team, right? They were battling for a long time, sure. Right? Even in February, it was like every game was a March Madness game, and then for that to be taken away from them, that part sucked. But it was the right thing, I think.
Take me inside of the locker room at UC. What was it like with those student athletes when they heard the news? The season was over. What was it like in there?
Honestly, I believe they all were sad. All of them are sad, coaches included, just how much they've been through this season, losing Mick Cronin, getting, John Brandon, and then starting off with a rocky season, right? So they had some rough losses, but then the games they need to win, they won. So they were like, hey, nothing but up from here. We go win the tournament, boom, make some noise in the NCAA, but it wasn't meant to be for them.
Right, not this year. Now, I want to go through the list of just all of the sports that have been canceled right now. American Athletic Conference suspends spring athletics, baseball, what's left of basketball, track and field. They were set to host the NCAA indoor tournament there. Lacrosse, men's and women's golf, the NCAA diving championships were supposed to be held this weekend. This has a huge impact.
Yes. I did hear some news that the spring programs are going to get the extra year for the seniors, which would be great. I don't know how that's going to look because it's pretty early. But
on that note, how do you feel about, because obviously basketball is a winter sport.
Yes.
They didn't have the chance to play in the NCAA tournament. Do you think that they should have another year of eligibility?
Honestly, I'm definitely for it. I don't know if all of the players will take advantage of it because some of them, are definitely going to make money soon, right? You play for 4 or 5 years for free. Exactly.
Yeah.
BS walks, right? That's what they say. But, I honestly think that, I think they should put that out there for them because a lot of teams, especially like you look at, I cover UC, but you look at UD, which had a real good chance to possibly win the championship, right? And then they, they're going to lose a lot of people. Everybody knows that Obi Toppin's not coming back, right? But I feel the same probably for like Jaron and Trey. They probably wouldn't come back, but, maybe the others may, who knows?
I know it's still early on, switching over to UC football. You had a chance to talk with Luke Fickell. I'm sure some of the guys, they're not practicing anymore.
Yep.
What does this mean overall for recruiting? Is there anything that this is going to do when it comes to recruiting?
It's going to be interesting because, I went to a few practices, and of course, there was a lot of recruits there, right? Mm-hmm. So now you had 12 more practices that they could have had every day they could have had the recruits there. Yep. You know, topped it off with the spring game where they probably would, you know, lay it on thick, have a lot of people there. It's going to be interesting because nobody knows really when stuff's going to start back up. Hopefully within a 3-week period or the month period, everything's back to normal. Fingers crossed. But if not, it's going to be a lot of Skyping, I'm guessing. I mean, right. You know, not as much face-to-face. So I guess those recruits that are on the fence, per se, like maybe if they have 5 kids that they want and the top 2 are the ones that they want, but they're probably getting drugged by every school, right? And then it's the other 3 that they want to kind of get there to get face-to-face. It's not going to happen. So that's going to be very interesting to see how that domino falls. 20 seconds or less. Tell me about this transfer portal. How big of a deal is this going to be for UC, for local colleges around? It's going to be huge, honestly, man. Have you seen, you know, Wichita State already has 3 in there, right? So hopefully, knock on wood, no wood's around, you know, UC won't have to worry about it too much, but it'll be interesting because I feel like on the basketball team, they'll probably be looking for another big man to fill that you know, that loss of Trey, you know, right? So
Absolutely.
we'll see what happens. JT,
thank you so much for joining us. Shake hands.
I know. It's
better not right now,
right?
I'll tell you what, you're going to want to check out Front Office News. Great blog covering UC. We will be back with a few final thoughts on the week that was coming up.
Find the good in your...
I stand on the shoulders of so many. Being here tonight has been a dream of mine since I was little. I'd like to thank my guests for swinging by, John Popovich for setting the foundation, my wife for believing in me, my mom and dad for pushing me to get to this point, the countless teachers who inspired me in the community which raised me. No matter how old you are, keep pushing for your dreams. In these days, let's remember, smile, stay positive, go make it a good week, and we'll see you soon.